Seven.
FE or what is this?
If this is a perfect competition, how much the price will be?
9.
How many people say 9? How many people say 7? Now the price will be 9. Why? Because this is the demand curve and this is the supply curve. They intersect here, so this is going to be 9, which is the price. Okay, that's the equilibrium price if it's a perfect competition. Okay, now what if this is a monopoly? How much is the price going to be? 10. This is the demand curve, right? Now this is the marginal cost equals the marginal revenue. So they're going to produce only 4. You take the 4 and you go all the way until you hit the demand curve, and then you see the price is 10. Did you see that?
Yeah.
All right. Now, if this is a perfect monopoly, okay, if it's perfect competition, I'm sorry. If it's a perfect competition, how much is the marginal cost? Marginal cost, this is the marginal cost. Now this marginal cost, it will touch, this will be the marginal revenue, right? How much is the marginal revenue if it's a perfect competition?
5 multiplied by 9.
This is going to be 9 is going to be the price, and it will equal the marginal revenue. So it will touches this marginal cost at this point E. Do you see? So here marginal cost will equal price. And then you're going to produce 5 units.
And the monopoly should be less than marginal cost, yeah, the price.
Now, if it's a monopoly, then marginal cost will equal marginal revenue in this point. Are you guys okay with this? Anyone is lost? Now, monopoly. Now, let's see. If this is perfect competition, how many units they produce? 5. If this is a monopoly, how many they produce? 4. You guys see? So this is the main difference. In a perfect competition, we produce more and we have less prices. But if we are a monopoly, we produce less and the prices are higher. Now, monopolists will produce less and they will charge higher prices than a competitive industry. That's why we want more competition with Yemenit and Tel Yemen, so that we can have less prices and we can talk more or use the internet more. Barriers to entry. Now, if you talk about the obstacles that will make it difficult or impossible, would be producers to enter a particular market. The example is a patent. Now, in the case example of the pill for cancer, it's a patent, right? Threat to entry, monopoly. They will attain higher prices and profits by restricting outputs. The threat of entry does not affect monopolists due to high barriers to entry. Barriers to entry, there are patent protection, there is a legal harassment, there is an exclusive licensing, bundled products, government franchises. Did you understand each one of these 5? These are all why we have a competition. Why we have a monopoly. Why do we have Yemenit or Tel Yemen? Or this medical company? Now, patent protection is like the medical companies, medicine. Legal harassment, where the law says, you know what, you cannot, by law, Tel Yemen. Exclusive licensing. You know, only Yemenit has a license to operate. Only 4 GSM companies have licenses to work. Bundled products, because I'm the only one who do this, therefore I'm the only one who can sell that. You know, the things that go together. And then the idea of government franchise. Remember when Mudiriyat Ma'in decided to give a license to someone to have some sort of a franchise to operate electricity? So we will talk about each one of these. So a patent is a government grant. Patent is a source of a monopoly power. Legal harassments, that's they sue potentially. You guys remember the story of Apple and Samsung when they went to court?
Yes.
What happened in the story? Samsung, they started to copy some Apple ideas. Now Apple said, hey, by law, this is my idea. You cannot copy my ideas. And one button, it is my idea. Why do you have one button? You should have 2 buttons at least. Do you see? So here comes a lengthy legal battle, so expensive, threat of legal action may deter entry into a monopolized market. exclusive licensing. There's a lack of licenses, making it difficult for potential competitors to acquire factors of production. So here is also, if bundled products that forcing consumers to purchase complementary products threatens competition. Now, for example, do you guys know, anyone have been to KFC? They always have Pepsi inside. There's almost like a monopoly of Pepsi inside KFC. You see? Bundled products makes it difficult for competitors to sell their products profitably. Microsoft bundled software application. Do you guys remember the story of Microsoft and the legal harassment they have faced in the US and in Europe? This is what happened. Anyone remember the year 1993? In year 1993, there was the first beginning of the internet. And the first people to start to make an internet software were Netscape. Netscape, they made this software and they started to sell Netscape and they became a big company. Netscape, they opened their internet browser. Microsoft, they started to do their Internet Explorer. Anyone know Internet Explorer? Do you know what do they call it these days? Anyone know what they call the Explorer today?
Google Chrome.
No, Chrome is the Google. Now let's see, I have here Windows. It says here Microsoft Edge. Now anyway, the idea here is in 1993, Internet Explorer started and Netscape was in a big competition. Now Microsoft, they started to put Netscape free as part of their package. So if you buy a new laptop or a new desktop and you get Windows, you get by default free of charge their Internet Explorer. Now what happens with Netscape business?
Loses.
Immediately go to zero. You see? Because why should I buy Netscape if I can get Explorer free? And it comes along with the product. And this was a big government interaction in the US, and they said, hey, Microsoft, you stop doing this. This is illegal. This is bundling, and you are being monopoly. And then they went into courts. Government franchise monopoly granted by a government license. They licensed local power. We talked about power, مديرية معين and the power. Telephone, cable TV. Another examples: U.S. Postal Office, first class mail. Now, comparative outcomes of monopoly market power allows it to change the way the market responds to consumer demands. So people start to, how people or how the market respond to consumer demands is fully controlled by this monopoly. Competition versus monopoly. So here we finished the discussion of a monopoly. Okay, and now do we have entry, exit, and monopoly?
No.
There is no entry because by law you are a monopoly. And will you go exit? You exit if you lose license. Now let's compare competition and monopolies. In a competition as well as a monopoly, there's high prices and profits signal consumers' demand for more outcomes. So here there's always the signaling, which is the trial and error. Competition, high profits, they attract new suppliers. Monopoly, barriers to entry, they erect to exclude potential competition. There's also the idea, they call it natural monopoly. There are some natural monopoly. For example, remember first movers, like the first people to do a specific business, and if this business is very expensive, it becomes a natural monopoly that you're the only one who can do it. Because anyone who comes, they try to compete with you, and you are coming late. And remember, like these new power companies, if they open big and they provide good price, no one can come and compete with them because you will not be able to reach their size while they are there. They reached their size while they were the only people. And here we've got in a competition, production and suppliers expand, prices slide down, market demand curve. Monopoly, production and suppliers are constrained and prices do not move down the market demand curve. And then we talked about in a competition, new equilibrium established, average cost of production approach their minimum. In a monopoly, no new equilibrium is established and the average costs are not necessarily at the near of the minimum. So these are the comparisons, and we talked about all of these. In a perfect competition, we have zero zero economic profit. Monopoly, economic profits are always maximum. prices always exceed marginal costs. Are you guys okay with these? I'm going quickly because we talked about them. They're just here written just for reconfirmation. Here, in a competition, profits are squeezed. They do a lot of pressure. There's always a pressure for you to reduce prices. In a monopoly, there is no profit squeeze. Anyone have been to buy a mango and you say, they tell you 600 riyal, you tell them, no, 500. Anyone have done this before? You always do this, right? Now, anyone have tried to do this with Tel Yemen? You tell them no. They tell you, go! As soon as you tell them no, 1 riyal less, they tell you, go! They know that you don't have any other option. But for the mango, you can go to the next guy. You tell them, the guy there, they sold for less. They immediately lower the price. As soon as you tell them, the guy there, they lower the price. Near monopolies, 2 or more firms, they may rig the market to replicate monopoly. So here, if we have 2 people, they also become like a monopoly, which we call them duopoly. These people, they go together, they become friends. If we have oligopoly, these, they will be few, they will dominate the market. Monopolistic, there's many firms. They have a monopoly on its own brand image, but they still contend with the competing brands. So anyone is very loyal to a particular brand. Remember the story of Gillette? Anyone is very loyal to a brand? We always have in the class people who are obsessed with what is your favorite brand that you love and you always like to buy, and every time you see your heart feel like a butterfly? Yeah, what? Yeah, what brand? Not anywhere in the world, just the brand.
I mean, sometimes it's not about loyalty, maybe it's about you just trust it.
Yeah, what?
I don't know, the shampoo Clear, for example.
The shampoo, which one?
Clear.
Clear. Listen to this.
Maybe.
He sees Clear, his heart feel like a butterfly. And, if they increases their prices, you will follow them. So here for Clear, with their see Clear, what is it, Cristiano? You are after.
By the way, his hair is curly.
All right. So do you see here is a monopolistic competition? It's like a monopoly for some people, right? But for other people, if Clear double their prices, how many people will immediately shift to something else? You see? So that's the idea here. So here we're going back to what gets produced. Monopoly do not change the marginal prices. Marginal cost pricing means firms offer supply goods at prices equal to their marginal cost. So monopolies do not deliver the most utility. So the idea, are monopolies good or bad? We're trying to teach you that monopolies are bad. Like Tel Yemen, they are bad when they are a monopoly because they produce less, they have higher prices, they don't take care of customers, we can't squeeze them, they squeeze us. And monopolies do not deliver the most utility. However, from a business perspective, we try to tell people that you always want to be a monopolistic competition. You see, build a brand and try to get people to believe. And that's what MBA programs are normally after. For whom higher prices they charged by monopolists will favor purchased by higher income consumers. So many monopolists, do they work for Steve Jobs or they work for regular people? They work for people like Steve Jobs because they make the money from them and they're the people who pay them. Do you see? So monopolists, they get fat profits and thusly access to more goods and services. So that's, remember the economic question, for whom. And then the idea for how monopolists, they have less of an incentive to innovate. Do you think Tel Yemen, they come up with a great idea? The greatest idea Tel Yemen came with was what? Yeah, click. This was their greatest idea, which is we tried it here in LIU and it was a complete disaster. We just returned it next day. There is absolutely no added value in it. And their customer service is absolutely zero. So remember the idea of how in economics? So in a monopoly, the what and the how and the for who, it is all, screwed. There's a tendency to inhibit technological improvement by keeping competition but out of the market. Now what happens if someone come here and try to compete with Tel Yemen? What do? They go and call the police, go catch these people. These people are smugglers. Anyone have seen it on the news? If you receive a phone call from some unknown numbers, please call 152 so that we can send the police to catch them. You see, that's the idea here.
Even customers can keep the equipment with them.
Absolutely. So any redeeming qualities. So despite the strong and general case to be made against monopolies, they could also benefit society. So is there anything good about monopolies?
Zero.
Sometimes,
Now here the book is trying to say, okay, there is maybe something good. Go ahead.
Sometimes too, there is industry which is huge and need investment for many years. And
Exactly. The idea of research and development. Like remember this cancer? Now, if they don't have a monopoly idea, they will never try to find a solution for cancer. But because there is a patent and monopoly power, so people research. So that's one of the good things. So it's not all bad. So there is something.
Also revenue for the government.
Yeah, if they have to pay taxes. Well, if they're a business, they have to pay taxes. Then resources available to invest. So the idea of entrepreneurship investors. So I will stop here. We still have around like 10 slides. We'll continue after the break. And then we'll take our quiz for chapters 5 and 6. Okay?